Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to High Top Sports Recruiting. This is Cody, the professor, and today we have a very, very special guest, Coach Balin. We're going to talk some recruiting stuff for parents, for kids, how to get yourself some offers, and we are glad to bring in Coach Balin Trujillo. How you doing, Coach?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. So, want to talk some how to get my kid recruited. If I don't know how, I'm a young parent that
Yeah.
that has no ins and outs of college ball. Obviously, my kid is talented enough to get a D2 or a D1 offer. What's the first step about going about that for you?
Yeah. So first, I want to give the information about what an offer is. I think most parents and athletes don't understand that there's three different definitions of the word offer. Everybody is chasing that offer. Everybody is excited about getting offers. Some people don't understand what offers mean. So I'm going to give you the three key definitions of what an offer is, and then we're going to go into detail about how you get those offers. So the first offer and the first question to that offer is it committable? So that means what is a committable offer, or it's a committable offer, which means if a coach likes your tape, it has a good connection with the trainer or coach, and they reach out based off their performance of an athlete, if it's in camp, obviously on tape, they're going to say, hey, we're going to offer you a scholarship. And then the first question athletes should ask is, hey, is it committable? Which means, can I commit today to your program? Now, that's very important because if they tell you no, then that offer just really honestly doesn't mean anything. But if they can say yes because they truly believe in your ability and obviously they're wanting to recruit you, that is a real offer, which means at some point, whether it's that day that you get the offer or later on your recruiting process as you develop and as you go through more experiences, it's you can still commit then. Obviously, that is a committable offer, which that's what we're all striving to get as an athlete. Number two is some offers may be based off interest, which means again, to that first question is say, hey, coach, is this committable? If he says no, but we are offering you based off, maybe they want to see more development, but they like where you are right now, but they see you longevity wise working out for their program, or hey, I want to see you come to a camp. And if they don't offer you now, that means you're not going to show interest in them later on, which means you won't come to a camp. So they're going to offer you to show you interest, and then you guys will hopefully come to a camp or go on campus more often to build that relationship, and then ultimately it turns into a committal offer later on. So again, first question is committable. Second question, if it's not committable, that could be an offer based off interest. And the third one is a favor offer, which a lot of these coaches have great relationships with either trainers or head coaches in football. They'll offer a kid just to jumpstart the recruiting. They might not be a good fit for their program, but they know they're good enough to be a Division I, D2, D3 athlete, NAI, whatever. But they'll send the offer to the kid just to hope that their recruiting starts to kick off, obviously through social media and Twitter platforms and different, recruiting services or whatever. When they post it, obviously the kid gets attention. A lot of coaches see that on social media and they're like, okay, who's this kid? We'll look more into it. And then if they're thinking one school offers, then it kind of a trickle down effect that way as well. But that's why that first question is very important. Is it committable? So if a kid is offered a scholarship based off a favor, they don't know that, right? The coaches behind the scenes know that. But the kid should ask the question, hey, coach, thank you for the offer. Is it committable? Then they'll understand where that offer sits, because a lot of these kids, again, are misinformed. And then when it comes to signing day or when it comes to that point where they want to commit, they're like, hey, coach, I'm ready to commit. And they're like, whoa, hold on. We're still going through the process of, you and other guys. You're like, wait a second, I thought you offered me, right? So it's very important to understand what offer you got when it comes to an athlete. And I'm very big on that with the quarterbacks that I train. I make sure that when coaches offer my guys, it's to the point where now it's committable, because I don't want them to go through that process of, oh, now we have to wait to see what other guys do, or now I'm just an option based off, numbers or whatever the case may be. If I'm, marketing a kid and I spend time to try to get them an offer, and those coaches do their evaluation process and believe in obviously my development in these coaches, I want to make sure when they say, hey, I'm offering you, that kid's going to be committable. Because at the end of the day, why are you offering my guys? Why are we spending this time if at the end of the day it's not committable? So let's just eliminate that right now. If you are extending an offer to a kid that I train, it better be committable, because that's where that relationship standpoint, for me to that coach, say, hey, don't offer my guy, because I don't want them to go through the struggles later thinking that they have an offer and they can't commit. So if my guys get offers, 99.9%, that offer's committable. And that's obviously a good relationship that I have with these coaches that are trusting my process. And obviously the kids still got to, perform at the end of the day at a high level. But there's 7 steps to the recruiting process that we're going to talk about here. First step is recruiting through training, like myself, trainers. Second is high school coaches, relationships. Third is camps. Fourth is game experiences. Fifth is unofficial visits. Sixth is bus tours. And seven is 7-on-7. So those are like the 7 steps to getting recruited. I got obviously opinion on all these based off the 9 years of me quarterback training and developing kids and getting kids offers and helping that recruiting process with coaches and stuff like that. So I have an opinion and I've seen the results on this. So that's why I speak passionately about this, because I know what the process looks like for these kids. But those are the 7 areas in which people, parents, athletes, trainers, coaches think that these kids can and will accept offers.
Coach, real fast. I like how you laid that out there on the favor offer being last down the list on
Yeah.
that. Guys, if you're expecting your high school coach to go in and make sure that your recruiting is getting done 99.9% of the time, you are not. It's unless you are paying big money to go to IMG, it's not going to happen. The
Mm.
coaches just don't have the time, and parents need to really realize that head coaches do not have time to go out and make all 20 seniors a priority to
Yep.
get offers. Correct?
That is correct. That's why trainers is the number one thing on my list for receiving offers for kids.
Gotcha. So, just for a quick second, let's go through your background. Because parents are going to click this and say, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah.
Coach Balin, can you list off some of your achievements and who you are and why they should believe in this program here?
Yeah, so I'm just a quarterback trainer here in Orlando, Florida. I've been blessed enough to travel the country and put on quarterback camps of my own, as well as partner with other quarterback coaches across the country and put on camps. I've been a part of the Elite 11 for 5 years, and I've seen how they've been able to develop their top athletes across the country in Orlando and Miami when I used to work there, and it was an awesome experience for me and getting to connect with other coaches in that experience. And so with that, I've been able to build my own brand here in Orlando. And again, like I said, I train all over the country, but my central location is Orlando, Florida. I've trained well over. I was counting the other day and I stopped counting. It was like over 600 athletes in the last 9 years at the quarterback position that I've trained and developed from young age. I started as young as 5 years old. I finally got through my first wave of kids. I've done this for 9 years, so I've seen almost a decade of a kid's development, and it's been really cool to see that. I travel. I've worked big college camps as well. I've trained and developed over 35 Division I athletes, and then I've trained like 28 D2, like 20, 23 NAIA and D3. These are all guys that I've developed, not guys that just come in and they're already established kids. We're talking about since they were 5, 6, 7 years old and developing, and it's been a blessing to see their development. And I got guys now in the 25, 26, 27 class that I've developed at a young age that they're now starting to really explode in the recruiting scene. I've just recently had guys travel from Oklahoma, from Montana, LA, New Jersey, all flying in now to train with me. So it's just been a blessing. And I think that when we go over the recruiting through training piece here, I think this is really what makes me stand out, because a lot of these coaches and these trainers, they're good at what they do, but they don't really necessarily market their kids like the way I do. And I learned a marketing strategy and tool from my mom as growing up. She was a big businesswoman. She's worked at HSN. She's been on Shark Tank. She's worked at Disney for 15 years. She was the vice president of Orlando Magic. So I've seen how the marketing piece is for athletes to really excel at what they want to do. So I've taken that into my training, and it's really helped my business because I promote the kids that I train. But at the end of the day, I have to do my part in developing these kids so that I'm able to market something, right? So at the end of the day, they still have to perform at a high level. They have to train at a high level, and they have to produce at a high level when they go to these camps or whatever. So it's their job to translate what I've been teaching them onto the field, which again correlates to offers. So I've trained right now currently 9 kids in the 26 class that have Power 5 offers. Now I call it Power 4 because one of the conferences is no more. So that's really obviously those guys are making big headwaves in the recruiting scene all across the country, which is getting attention of other people in their class, which is getting them excited to make their way here to Orlando to train with me. So at the end of the day, I'm doing God's work and his purpose for my life. I don't take none of this credit. I believe God put me in a platform and gave me the ability to teach. I think that's a gift that I got from the Lord. And my passion really came from when I got to University of South Florida. So I played at USF in 2011 and 12 under Skip Holtz. And I just remember how I felt when I went into the quarterback room and Coach Peter Bosch threw me up on the board. He was my quarterback coach and was like, "Hey, do this coverage versus this scheme or whatever." And this concept. And I'm like confused. In high school, I had over 8 scholarship offers. I was third in the county, fifth in the state in passing, had a really good high school career. But all I had was a strong arm. So I thought that's what I needed to be successful because that's all I knew. My dad was my trainer, right? I didn't have really a trainer growing up, but he did the best he could. He played Division I. He played at UCF. But he did the best he could to train me. And so when I got to USF and they threw me on the board, I was so lost. I was so behind. And I'm like, I never want anybody to feel the way that I feel right now because I feel like I'm like 3 or 4 steps behind everybody, which, again, results in not playing. And so I thought in that moment when I sat back down in my seat with all 4 other quarterbacks looking at me, I'm just like, I don't want to feel like this. So I'm going to make sure that whenever I get into coaching, if I don't make it professionally, that I train these kids to be ready for that moment so that they're able to produce and be on the stage and be ready for that stage when they get to college and then hopefully and beyond.
So I just want to piggyback off that. The talent level for the average kid keeps going up and up.
Yeah.
It's the nutrition, it's the training, it's the extra work, it's the every like you said, a lot of people in positions have trainers, and there's a lot of guys like you that are scattered throughout the United States. So let's go
Yeah.
ahead and hit on number one real fast, and
Yeah.
and we'll start getting through the list.
Yeah, so it's very important when it comes to recruiting. Trainers have connections with college coaches. I see now, obviously, with myself, I have a lot of connections. Again, it's all because of God and how He's connected me with this or that. But trainers have the ability to have connections with coaches because there are rules and regulations with the state, with high schools, that these coaches cannot contact certain athletes at certain times, also coaches. So us as trainers, as the middlemen, we're able to connect with these coaches at any point, anytime, anywhere, any day, right? So as the middleman with a lot of these athletes and these coaches, these coaches are coming to me and saying, "Hey, can you set me up with this guy, or can you hook me up with this coach, or can you get me in contact with your quarterback?" And doing all these different pieces that helps obviously get my kids recruited. So it's very important that you parents do your research, find out the trainers that are in your area or around the country, do your research on how they develop in their players and what their players are doing on a consistent basis, and how are they getting recruited, and how are they going to camps, and how are they setting up with unofficial visits and game day visits and all that stuff. You got to do your research and really spend time looking at your position or your trainer. It doesn't have to be quarterback. It's whatever your kids are doing. There are solid and legit trainers out there that you can connect with, but you have to do your research and see what they're doing behind the scenes that are helping these kids get recruited. Again, coaches, like you mentioned earlier, head coaches don't have the time to focus on one player when they got 110 kids on a roster. So they're trying to build their program and do what's best within the walls of them to build a team, whereas there might be 2 or 3 or maybe 4 kids that have even the ability to play at the next level. And so those trainers is why it's important to really market that one kid, whereas a coach doesn't have the time and the ability to market 4 kids when they have 110 to worry about and care about all 110. As we're trainers, we're cared about our client, where the coaches care about everybody, hopefully, if you're a good coach, right? Trainers need to keep up to date with interactions with their coaches as well. I think trainers need to have relationships with the high school coaches, which is my number 2 point, because a lot of the guys that come see my quarterbacks, I've orchestrated meetings with the coaches. So I'll text the head coach, say, "Hey, University of Miami is coming down. They want to see, for instance, Noah Grubbs or Brady Hart or Michael Clayton. Hey, Darion Coleman, we're going to set up a throwing session on your campus as a basically as a practice, so that they're able to watch them throw live, and then again has resulted in offers." So that's just an example. But that's, high school coaches have to be in a relationship with the trainers, in my opinion. And I have relationships with all the high school coaches that my quarterbacks play under because of that purpose. And a lot of these high school coaches are still in the old way of thinking things. They don't check emails. They're not active on social media, so they don't really know. Whereas me as a trainer, I'm always active on social media. And again, I'm taking care of my clients, so I'm making sure these college coaches are connected, and then they build relationships with these high school coaches. There are 261 D1, 162 D2, 240 D3, and 95 NAI programs. So there's a lot of opportunities for high school athletes to play at the next level, even though only 3% get to make it to that level. There's so many opportunities for them. But us as trainers, it's very important to evaluate the kids that you train. Not every kid's Division One. Not every kid's D2. Not every kid's D3 or NAI or JUCO. Like, it's very important that you're not just collecting a check, but you're also investing in the lives of these kids and telling them the truth. Because a lot of these trainers will lie to these kids and say, hey, you're a D1 kid, or hey, I got D1 connections. And then when it comes time for these D1 coaches to come see them, you know dang well they're not ready for that stage. You know dang well their arms not strong enough, their size is not big enough. You know, their footwork's not in sync. They might have really good arms, which doesn't mean they're a D1 player, but it could fit them in the NAI slot or the D3 slot or the D2 slot or even FBS, FCS, whatever that case may be. But trainers, it's very important that you are truthful with the kids that you train, because you know in your heart, not every kid you see is going to be a Division I talent. There are those special it factors that you have to look for, and you have to know what they are to say, hey, that kid's a Division I player, or hey, I see the trajectory and the development of where this kid's going. He could be a D1 player. If not, there are other options. And like I just mentioned, there's well over almost 1,000 schools or 800 schools with opportunities to get these kids recruited. So it's very important that you are honest with the kids that you train and let them know, hey, this is where you stand. Because at the end of the day, you don't want the kids that you train be hurt because they've built this facade in their head that they're a Division I player, when you know at 5'8", 160 pounds, 150 pounds, you're not a Division I player, but you're good enough to play at some level, and we'll find that connection. And that's why it's important for these trainers to have relationships with college coaches. Parents, remember this: your kids' results are a direct reflection of how they're being trained. Results matter. If you are being trained the right way, usually the game becomes easier than the training, which is what I take pride in. Your training must be hard so that the game is easy. It's more of reactive thinking in the game than actual thinking, because if you're thinking, you're not playing. You want to play, everything's reactive and instinctual, which means you have developed that instinct and the reactive tendencies in your training. So my job as a trainer is to eliminate thinking, which now you guys are out there playing. And that's when the game becomes fun, because if you're overthinking, you're overstressed, you're never going to perform at a high level. That's why parents always ask, how does your kid consistently play at this level? Or how does he throw an average 4 touchdowns a game? Because they're not thinking anymore. They're just playing. That's the goal. Your training should focus on you getting to better, and it should be extremely hard. So that way, when you're in the game, it's completely easy. Now you're having fun, which at the end of the day, this game has been played at 4 or 5 years old. So the game has not changed. You change. So don't make it harder than what it is. Train hard so the game becomes easier. That way you're instinctual and not overthinking. Muscles don't have memory. So whenever they say, oh, muscle memory, no, that doesn't exist. It's about reactive thinking. So now you're just playing the game. You're not memorizing something. You're just reacting because you're used to that in your training. So always remember that. Parents, again, do your research on your trainers. And that is pretty much an overview of how trainers can help with recruiting. Because at the end of the day, my job is for my trainer. Coaches' jobs at the high schools is for every single person that walks in their hallway in their locker room. So it's very important that trainers are a big part of how your kids get recruited. And that's number 1 and technically number 2 of my 7 steps.
Okay, so I'm a young kid from the Midwest. I just don't have the money to go out
Yeah.
and pay for a trainer.
Yeah.
But I do have an iPhone, and I
Yep.
do have a gym membership. What
Mhm.
can I do?
Marketing is the number 1 essential key piece to your recruiting, which again, that's what I do for my kids I train. But if you have an iPhone, you have Twitter, which is completely free, right? You have the access to get a friend or get someone, film yourself in throwing sessions, film yourself working out. The more the coaches can see you on a social media platform like Twitter, the better opportunities you're going to have to get recruited. Coaches have to have easy access to your huddle. They have to have easy access to your Twitter accounts. A lot of you athletes have weird names as your at names. Like, it's not even your actual name. So how do you expect these coaches to find you if your name is not even your name on a Twitter or an at space or whatever, whether it be Instagram, Twitter, honestly, Facebook, whatever. You have to make sure that your name is easy accessible for these college coaches. So if your name is, great athlete number 1, whatever, you're never going to be found. Right. So, but if your name is at Balin Trujillo, if they're going to search me up, they're going to find me, and they know exactly where to find me. So market yourself as much as possible, get film out there about 2 or 3 times a week, and make sure you're doing it consistently and actually doing it right. So if you have workout videos, send it to a trainer. I can't even tell you the amount of DMs that I have on my Instagram pages, even in my Twitter DMs, of kids asking me, hey, can you see this and help me fix this? I can easily do that, right? I can say, hey, your back foot stride is too wide when you're throwing and you're kicking up in the air, or you're too wide on your base, or you're throwing from a different slot angle than over the top. You're not fully extending your elbow. There's little techniques that I can help a kid, work on, and that's free. You just send that to me, say, hey, coach, can you have time to evaluate me? Send me your feedback, and then that way I can critique it, and your next video will hopefully be better, right? So then now you're marketing yourself that way. Technically, I don't help market or recruit kids that I don't train. I don't, I believe these coaches trust my development and my opinion on things. And there's no way I'm going to have a kid that's all the way in, let's say, California say, hey, coach, can you help me get recruited? I've never seen you in person. You look good on tape, but you might not look good in person. I can't market you because I don't know what your strength and weaknesses is. So I'm not going to put my name, my brand on you. So coaches have to understand that, it is good to help other kids. But at the end of the day, when you're building a brand and these coaches out there trust your ability to develop kids, it's very important that these kids somehow make a way to you so you can help market them. Because at the end of the day, they're not going to trust you if you say, hey, this kid's D1. They give him a scholarship. He ends up on campus and he can't even throw a field hitch or a field out route when it matters. Like, the arm's not strong enough, but on tape it looks good because you're playing against lower level competition and you're not being realistic. So it's very important that you guys understand that sometimes coaches like myself won't market kids to get offers if they don't see you in person. That is just part of the game. But the freeness of sending a DM and saying, hey, coach, can you help me with my mechanics? Or what do you see wrong here? That's easy. That's not training. That's just helping a kid out, which I'm all for, and it's all about the kids. So make sure that, kids, if you don't have money, you can still work on your own, but you can still have access to these trainers like myself through DMs and messaging and stuff like that. So there are ways to get better without having money.
For sure. And a summer job is always good enough to at least get you in the window to get some training, right? And
Yes.
so what's number 3 on your list, coach?
Number 3 is camps, and that's a very big important emphasis on you athletes. Guys, do not go to camps unless you've been asked, invited by a coach, specifically you, or sent a questionnaire on your Twitter DMs, or a trainer says, hey, you need to go here. Unless you just want a camp t-shirt from your favorite camp, you should be not wasting your money or your time at camps that you just want to go and try to get an offer. You will not get an offer unless you've been reached out specifically, or your trainers helped you in a scenario where they've talked to that coach and said, hey, my athlete is going to that camp. That way you're pulled out in a select group, because if you don't pay attention, parents and athletes, a lot of those kids that are at these camps have already been talked to by these coaches, so they know exactly who they're already evaluating and wanting to see to extend offers. Kids only get offers at camps that have already been talked to and already set that up. So, for instance, for myself, I send my top 7 or 8 guys every camp that they have interest in, or these coaches have reached out to me. And what they'll do is, in the indie periods, they'll actually be pulled out and go to a separate field. You won't even notice this. They're so unique in how they do it, which is awesome for these coaches because they get to see the guys that they want. But it stinks because all the other kids that are in the camp think that they're getting recruited when they're really not. They're just there to get a camp t-shirt and to market more of that university, because they're going to be the ones on Twitter, hey, I went to this camp. So you're just going to see their logo more, which is helping their brand. But at the end of the day, there's only like 8 or 9 kids that are actually getting recruited at these camps. So for myself, I get all my top guys in that select group where they'll do a 25-minute indie period. The coaches will see them, they'll throw live, they'll do this or that, and then at the end of the camp, they'll either get pulled in the head coach's office or be told on the field, hey, we would like to extend an offer to you. So that happened to several of my quarterbacks last year in the camp circuit. I had one kid that I trained collect 11 offers from the head coach's mouth last summer and the quarterback coaches because, again, at the end of the day, I set up, these coaches, hey, my players are going to come here. I want you to evaluate them. They get pulled on the group. They do well, they get an offer. Even sometimes they do well and they say, hey, we still want to watch you, and they don't get offers. So also understand, if you are in that select group, not every single time, or it's not guaranteed you're going to get an offer. But at least when you go to these camps, they're actually watching you and evaluating you for an offer. At the end of the day, that's why we go to these camps. Unless you just want a camp t-shirt from your favorite college, you're wasting your time. So make sure you go to camps that these coaches have physically reached out to you about, not an email, because your name is in a database that they just shoot out emails all day long. Emails mean nothing. A physical, that means they had to go on Twitter, go to your page, hit the DM box and say, hey, I'm shooting you this questionnaire. I want you to come see you. I've been watching you. I know somebody. You're either your coaches reach out, your trainers reach out. Come to this camp. We'll evaluate you. Those are the camps you need to go to. And then again, like for myself as a trainer, I will say, hey, I need you to go to this camp because I know you're going to be evaluated. Or, hey, this coach reached out to me. They're very interested in you. They want to offer you, but they want to see you throw live in person. The only way they can do that is a camp. Hey, I'm going to send you this to this camp. So parents, you have to invest in time and energy in this because there might be several universities that want to see your kid. Go to all of them. Because at the end of the day, the way that this recruiting world works with the transfer portal, coaches will not extend offers unless they see you live. They're not going to do based on film anymore. Everybody has good film. If you have a film on Huddle, obviously you think you're good. You're going to put your best plays there. So now they want to see what you're doing live in person, which again goes back to my evaluation on kids to help them get recruited. I won't market a kid unless I train them in person because kids look different in person. So you'll know whether you're D1, D2, D whatever, if you're ready for college based on what you see live and how your arm talent is and stuff like that. So that same thing with these coaches in college camps. They want to see you throw live. So the only way to do that is to go to these camps. So sometimes you might need to rent a bus or get in a car, and you might have overnight stays in a vehicle or whatever. I mean, I had one kid hit 18 camps in 1 month, and he stayed in the car the entire time. Like, it's tough, but he collected 11 offers. So, and again, because he had to connect. So if you have the connection, these kids are being reached out to, go to these schools. You don't think because you have good film that these coaches are just going to come see you or offer you. No, you have to now take the time to invest and show them that you're interested. Go to these camps and then perform. Obviously, at the end of the day, you still have to perform, and then
Yeah.
hopefully in return you'll get the offer.
Yeah, you're gonna grind to get it. Nobody's gonna give you a handout.
Yeah,
I like what you said that coaches are want to see you in person because of the huddle aspect. Not saying that huddle isn't great, but you still need it. It's a part of it.
yeah.
But it's one of those things. Coach Napier for Florida always says verified height, length, speed. All right, coach. So that's why coaches say verified height, length, and speed. So when you put that you're running a 4.340, they really know you're running a 4.340, or that you have that you're 305, you're really 305, and that you're 6'5", you're really 6'5", because you can put whatever you want. But that's why these coaches want to see you in person, correct?
Yep, that is correct. They want to verify numbers, and obviously height, weight, that all matters. And also going back to that point, honestly, athletes, and I tell all my quarterbacks this: unless you're running a 4.4 or 4.5, do not run the 40. And that will hurt you more than help you unless you're running those type of numbers. And so sometimes coaches will scratch you off even if you have a bad number, just because they know that they can get just as good of talent or even better and still have that 4.5, 4.6 speed or whatever the case may be. So athletes, if you don't think you're prepared for the 40, you don't have to run it, because 9 times out of 10, if it's not good, they will scratch you off the list. And I tell all my quarterbacks that, hey, be smart. If you think you can go out there and run a 4.5 or 4.6, even 4.7, I think 4.7 is like the key piece for a quarterback, then go ahead and do it so you can showcase that. I had one kid last year who went to 0 camps because of a back injury, but he ran a 4.740, and now he's got over 16 Division I offers because he has a size at 6'5", he's 180 pounds, and he can run. And then obviously it helped the fact that he won state this year, Brady Hart. But he ran a 4.7, 4.840, and all the coaches jumped on it because of that size at 6'5". They freaked out and they said, okay, this kid's obviously athletic enough to do a lot of things, and he's got the height and the weight. So we're going to take a chance on him. So now he's got over 15 Division I offers because of that 40 time. He didn't go to any camps last year because, again, he was nursing a back injury. But because of that good 40 time, it helped him. But if you don't think you're running in that 4.5, 4.6, 4.7 range, quarterbacks specifically do not run the 40. I don't care if it's a Rivals camp, Elite 11 camp, Under Armour camp, does not matter. They cannot force you to run it. And sometimes they'll tell you, oh, okay, well, we won't give you an award if you don't run the 40. Okay, cool. We're not here for awards. We're here to get better and get work. Trust me, if I'm good enough, the media outlets will take note. They'll write articles, which they all do, and I'm still going to get just as much as attention. I don't need an MVP because at the end of the day, a lot of the camps are political anyways, and they know exactly who they're going to pick regardless of if you run a 40 or not. So they can't deny talent. So at the end of the day, if you're not prepared for those moments at camps, do not run the 40. Other than that, go to the camps that matter, which are the Under Armours, which are the Elite 11s, which are the Rivals and the 24/7s. You know, that matters because at the end of the day, the right media people are out there, and we go right back to that first step is the marketing piece. That's how you get in front of these coaches is, are you marketable? Are you doing the things that are going to put you in front of these coaches says, we want to take a chance on this guy? Because at the end of the day, their job's on the line. So they're not offering kids that they don't believe and bet their salary on, because at the end of the day, now that we see it, colleges are year to year, which is why the portal is so important, because coaches don't have time to develop kids anymore. They want to win now. So based off that, they're going to go after the top tier talents in high school if they're even recruiting you, because they're just going to go right into the portal and go after a college guy that's already has experience and stuff. So again, very important that you go to the camps. A lot of kids get misinformed on camps. They go to the wrong camps. That's why it's important to do your research. If 24/7 is there, if On3 is there, if Rivals is there, and they're part of that camp, those are the camps to go to. Other than that, they're all money grabs. They mean absolutely nothing, and you're wasting your time. So trust me, you'll see the trend. If you're active on social media, on Twitter, you're going to see the camps that these kids need to be a part of, because you're going to see invitations to these camps. You're going to see a lot of marketing. You're going to see a lot of, the history behind the camps and what they've done for kids. So it's very important, again, that you parents and athletes do your research on these camps, because a lot of times these camps are money grabs. They just want you to be there to collect a check and just say, hey, we had so-and-so at our camp, which is going to help their business later on, but it's doing absolutely nothing for your recruiting, which is why it's important that the Rivals and the On3s and the 24/7s are there, because at the end of the day, they're the ones doing the articles for these athletes to help promote them and market them for these college coaches. And believe it or not, these coaches are watching and are reading. So it's very important that you find out the right camps. And a lot of kids ask me all the time, parents ask me all the time that I train. I have no problem saying, nope, you're not going, or yet you're going. There was one camp the other day, one of my parents asked me, he was like, hey, I asked my wife, did Balin send us this camp? Because I don't know how good this camp is. She goes, no, we just got an invite, we assumed. And like, nope, we're not going to any camp unless Balin tells us we're going to camp. Because if they would have asked me, I would have said, you're wasting your time. So at the end of the day, it's very important that your trainers, your coaches, and yourself are doing the research on these camps to make sure you're not wasting your time and money, because that's what's valuable now, because you ain't getting that back. So make sure you go to the right camps. And then at the end of the day, the only way you're getting offers at these camps is if you've been selected. Now, these are college camps separate than the camps from the Rivals and all that. But again, camps are very important. Don't run the 40, because it can hurt you unless you're running a 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, even 4.8 at the quarterback position. And then obviously do your part, which means perform. When your number's called, you still, at the end of the day, you can have all the connections in the world. If you aren't performing, you won't receive offers and you won't be noticed.
Yeah, a bad day can definitely set you back, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I had a kid last year who now has 14 Division I offers, did not get offered last year at a camp because he weighed in at 168 pounds. And they're like, well, we're not taking a chance on this kid yet. Well, now he's gained weight. Obviously, he's gotten bigger. Now he's got 14 D1 offers. But because he got on a scale and because he wasn't prepared for this camp, he didn't receive an offer from the University of Pittsburgh. Now he's got that offer a year later. But, at that time, the coaches are watching the numbers. So it's very important, again, that you are putting good stuff on paper. And if you do end up doing bad results, you also have the opportunity to reach out to the people a part of this camp and say, hey, I don't want you to submit any of my stats. Because at the end of the day, they're there to help you too as well. So if you have that issue, make sure you reach out to them, because if you don't, they are going to post it. Their job and what they're doing, and they tell you up front, we're getting accurate numbers for these college coaches. So make sure if you don't like what you do, you tell them, either find them after camp or tell them in the time being, hey, and letting you know if it's not a good number, please do not submit it, because these coaches are watching and it will hurt you if you don't do well.
That's an invaluable piece there, Coach. What you just said about not submitting
Yeah.
if you had a bad day or you tweak something early or what have you. Let's go ahead and go to the next step.
Yeah, the fifth step on my thing. So now we've got recruiting through training, which matters. Then we have high school coaches, relationships with trainers, that matter. So if you're a trainer, make sure you have relationships with your high school coaches so that they trust you as well with the development of their players. Number 3, camps. If you haven't been invited to camps, make sure you're not attending these camps, because that's the only way you're going to get offers. And if you're in that part of that select group, and I'm really talking specifically about the quarterback position. 4 is game experiences. So game experiences. A lot of kids get these invites by colleges and say, hey, come to our game. A lot of kids get that misconception, oh, because I get a game invite, I'm now getting recruited. No, a lot of times you are on a recruiting board, or you have connections through a trainer, which I'm the one that's sending you guys, the quarterbacks I train, the link to go to these games. But mainly it's there to have a good time and see the game from a better view, per se. You get the more of the experience, you get to go on the field, you get to see pregame warmups, stuff that a lot of people will never get to experience, which is awesome. Do all the game experiences you can, but you have to also remember you won't get offered on these game experiences, and a lot of these kids are getting these links through trainers and coaches. So a lot of kids can go anytime that they really want to, not just anybody, but for majority of them. So don't think that you're just special because of these game invites. As sometimes, obviously, through myself and the quarterbacks that I train, when I get these game invites, they're asking me to send them to a select group of kids, which means they're obviously interested in getting to know them, which means when we go to the game and we're meeting or mingling with coaches before pregame, those coaches are coming to my table. I mean, I can tell you right now, the University of Miami, Coach Shannon Dawson literally skipped every single person that was in their little DJ VIP room and went straight to my quarterback table and sat with us for 45 minutes with, I believe I brought 12 quarterbacks from all different classes, and he spent the entire time with my group alone. And so that's what really matters in those game experiences, is the time that you get to meet coaches and see these coaches and build a network and get to follow them on Twitter and get their phone numbers. But at the end of the day, if you athletes think because you got a game invite, you're going to go and potentially get an offer, that's 99.9% not going to happen. You won't get an offer on these game visits. They just want to see you, see how interested you are in their game, and they want to try to give you the best game experiences to show you what it looks like to be a part of their program on a game day. So enjoy those experiences. But if I had advice for athletes, if you have an offer from a program or programs, those are the game invites you need to go to, because you're going to get the best experience, because they're going to obviously spend time with you, but you're also trying to make a decision later on whether you want to be there or not. So that's why it's important to go to the schools that have offered you already, so that you're seeing what it looks like on a game day visit or a game day atmosphere, so you can say, hey, I want to be a part of this, or hey, I don't really like how they do things here, so I just scratch them off my list. For those that don't have offers, do as many as you like, but at the end of the day, just know that don't get your hopes up and say, hey, I'm going to travel to the University of Oregon and fly out there because they sent me an invite, thinking that you're going to come back on that plane with an offer. It's 99.9% not going to happen unless that's the only time they're ever going to see you, and they specifically go to you, spend time with you, want you to go there maybe the day before or the day after to hang around and do a special visit. Maybe now that has turned more into an unofficial visit and not a game day experience. There you might get an offer, which I had with one of my kids that I trained. I took him to Texas A&M and Ole Miss. We got to do the day before and the day after a game day visit. That turned into an unofficial visit, which then later on turned into an offer. So that's a little different. That's not just coming to the game and shaking your hand afterwards, say thanks for the experience, hope to see you again. That's just a game day experience. A lot of kids, again, get that link, so don't really consider it really special, but do enjoy them because they're important. There's still an opportunity to meet the coaches, shake hands, get numbers, and then hopefully build a relationship and a rapport, which later will turn into an offer if they want to continue to recruit you or come see you at training camps or at camps in general or on school campus or whatever that looks like. So just don't get misconstrued there, because a lot of people think, oh, I got this game invite, they're recruiting me. Well, they could be and they could not be. They just want you to experience it, because a lot of connections through myself or high school coaches to get these kids to these games. That's part of all the fun that's involved with college football. So again, number one, recruiting through training. Number two, high school coaches' relationships with trainers. Number three, camps. Number four, game experiences. Number five, unofficial visits. That's the next step. So unofficial visits are important. That's unlimited. There are select dead periods within colleges. Like even right now, players can't meet with coaches on campus voluntarily until March 1st or 2nd. So there are a dead period where coaches cannot communicate, period, with players in person on campus, regardless of class, until these dead periods are lifted off and going into spring practices, which these players can come see them, or in camps, or at the end of July. There's like a 3-week dead period in July. No coaches can talk to anybody. That's their vacation, because they only get 3 weeks off the entire year, and they're going to be on vacation. Let's not get that twisted. So there's no room to talk to these players. But unofficial visits are great. Anytime, as long as it's not in that dead period, a player can get in their car and drive to university and go see what it looks like. And this is where the trainers come in, right? Because the trainers like myself can set up unofficial visits, which means I'm going to let this coach know, hey, this date, my quarterback is going to be on your campus. Make sure you have someone greet them, or even yourself as a quarterback coach. Give them the tour experience, maybe get them in game day jerseys, which I think that's now done away with. But regardless, they're going to get the best experience possible, and it's still just an unofficial. You still have to pay your way to get there. You have to figure out how you're going to get there. But once you get there, I can set up a whole day for them with the coach that I'm working with the university that's going to help make their experience that much better. And then again, in return, you could get offers on unofficial visits because again, it's to the coach's eye, it's still kind of an official visit, but they're not spending money to get you there. But if you're willing to make the drive, they can talk to you, you can meet with them, they can show you around campus, whatever. It's almost like the perfect day and the perfect storm for both the athlete and the coach. But again, only do these visits if you have a connection to that school, because you're just, again, wasting your time, or you're just doing another field trip at a program. You're just going to, do your own tour. You're going to get in your car. You're going to ride around. You might get out, walk around the campus, which is great. If you want to see a campus, anybody can do that anytime. You don't even have to be an athlete. You can do that. You can be a resident in the nearby. I can go to UCF anytime right now and walk around campus. That doesn't make it an unofficial visit. So make sure college coaches know you're coming so that way you get the best experience. But the only way they're going to meet up with you is if, one, they're recruiting you, two, there's a connection like a middleman like myself through a trainer or a high school coach, or three, they're really in talks to see you, want to see what you look like in person, build a relationship, and then again, hopefully in return you'll get an offer. So at the end of the day, do as many unofficial visits as possible. Go see these campuses. You might have to spend some money on travel expenses, especially to the schools that have offered you. You want to make sure you're showing these coaches that have put the time and effort to recruit you that you're doing the same thing by going on these visits and spending time with them and trying to show them that you're interested in going to that program, because that's where, the committable offer comes. Okay, we see how serious this guy is. Your offer's committable. You can commit to us anytime because you're showing us that you want and invest in us just as much as we're investing in you. So do as many unofficial visits as possible, but just know there are dead periods that these coaches cannot connect with you, which means you won't be able to have the full experience. So, you can go to campus anytime you want, but you want the best experience by being with these coaches as an unofficial visit. And then it turns into official visits junior, senior year, which college coaches get unlimited, can give out unlimited, but they don't have unlimited numbers to give, if that makes sense. So as an athlete, I can go to the same school as many times as I want as an official visit, but the university might only have 3 or 4 official visits for that program, so they're not going to give you all 4. They might give you 1, maybe 2 if they're really serious about you, but then after that, it's all going to be unofficial visits. So that's the loophole that a lot of you athletes and parents don't understand, that yes, now players have unlimited official visits. It used to be just 5 and 1 per school. Now the school can give you as many as they want, but they're the ones limited now for the officials to give out. So now they go to home visits and they try to do they go around it in different ways. These college coaches, they'll do home visits. They'll come visit you 100 times at your school. They'll meet up with you in your home state. Might do a dinner or whatever the case may be to not get you to use one of their officials on their campus if you've already been there a couple times. So just be very mindful of that. Yes, you have unlimited. You don't have to be. You don't have only one time to go to one university, but those universities are limited and they can only give out a certain number of official visits. So that goes later on in your recruiting process, usually towards the end of your junior and then going into your senior year. So be mindful of that.
For sure. And guys, I hope you have a notebook down and writing this stuff down because it's absolutely invaluable. Obviously, Balin has this down to a absolute science on how to get your kid recruited, and this goes to every level, NAIA, JUCO, what have you. It's all the same. So if you may just need some time growing up, developing late bloomer, and you're not a D1 athlete right off the rip, it's no shame to go to a lesser program or a lesser status. They're still you're getting schooling, you're getting a scholarship.
And you know what? Yep. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's not whether it's D1, D2, or D3. It's a matter of if it's D3. At the end of the day, if they're paying your way to go play, you go play. And the way this transfer portal is just point blank, period. College coaches are going after college players. That's what it is now. If you are an elite specimen talent in high school, that's when you'll get those offers, because at the end of the day, I just told you earlier, coaches aren't trying to develop players. Those players have to already be developed to come in to get these offers, because they can just go right to the portal and get a guy with already college experience that's already, proven themselves, and they'll grab that kid over a kid that they think they have to develop. It's never going to happen, because now the way the game is, coaches are losing their jobs every single week, every single year. They have to win now. There is no more development. There is no more rebuilding. It's reloading. So you can use any of these levels of football to get you to where you want to go. If you think you're Division One, but you might have jumped late in the recruiting process, or you don't have a trainer with connections, or your high school coach doesn't have he's not caught up with the new way of recruiting and getting you promoted and marketed and stuff like that. If you have that opportunity to play at the NAIA, the D3, D2, D1, FCS, FBS, whatever, you got to perform. And if you perform, now you become part of that big conversation in the transfer portal. For example, there's a quarterback now at the University of Miami. He balled out at a lower level program in Albany, and now he's a full ride at a Power 4 at Miami, right? So if you want to be part of that conversation, you think you're good enough to play at that level, you still have to perform, but take those offers and commit to those lower level schools, prove yourself, build something, build a name for yourself. That way, when you hit the portal, they're like, oh, we want to take that guy because he's proven that he can play at this level, and he's proven at the college level, regardless of any level, and they'll take you over a high school kid. So remember, every school now at this point you might as well consider it a junior college, because you can leave at any point in the transfer portal, but at the end of the day, you have to produce and perform at where you're at, or you're just going to be stuck, or you're not going to play at all. So make sure you still do your part and perform when your name is called. That's the only way you're going to get to live out the dreams that you want. You even may have loved the school. Now you're the big guy on campus. You might like that, so you might stay, right? So regardless, if they're paying for your college to play college football, you got to remember 3% make it to that next level after high school. There's 97% of student athletes across America that will play their last game, their senior year, the last game they lose. And that is it. They are done. They will never put on a helmet since they were the age of 5 to 6. When they first put it on, thinking that they're going to play this game forever, they will end at 18 years old. But if you have that 3% chance to go, you need to go.
For sure. And Coach, I'm here to tell you, let alone the perfect storm has to ride out. You can't get the injury bug. Things just have to.
Yeah.
It is absolute luck and God's will to get you there.
Correct.
All right, let's go ahead and go to the next step.
So number 6 is, sorry, I'm getting a little passionate here. Number 6 is bus tours. A lot of people, put on bus tours, and they try to get the best athletes in the area, and they'll get on a bus and they'll do a camp circuit. Those are great. They're great because the people that usually do the bus tours have the connections. Like, I was even thinking about doing a quarterback bus tour myself later on down the road. I'm actually in talks with one of my parents that I train, a kid. I mentioned him earlier, Noah Grubbs. His dad thought about a cool idea of just running an RV van and getting our top guys, and we'll just do a camp circuit.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But, that stuff like that, that's got to also come with time and stuff. So, but bus tours are great. There's coaches that specifically do these things. There's a couple here in Orlando that I trust the guys that are on these tours that I sometimes send quarterbacks to. So those are great because at the end of the day, they're not going to go to universities unless they have connections. They would be wasting their time. So you got to make sure that hey, do your research on the bus tours. Where are they going? Who are some of the athletes that are going to be on there? If they're just taking anybody and everybody, it's probably not a good bus tour, because now they're just trying to collect a check, because those can get expensive because they're paying for your buses, your hotel fees, your food expenses, and the camp expenses. So if they're reasonable cost and you see the type of athletes that are on these tour buses, I fully encourage you to do them, because, again, they have some of these guys on these buses have the connections to get you in that private group in these camps, or actually be seen and talk to these coaches. And those are very important. Not everybody has the opportunity to have the means to get in a car and drive, so now bus tours kind of eliminates that. But here's the thing. You're now limited to only the schools that are on that bus tour. If 6 of the 7 schools you're going to on the bus tour haven't offered you, you're going to be, if you're not in that select group, again, it's wasting your time. But whereas you can be in your own car, go to the schools that have shown you attention and do those camps, because that's where you want to get those offers. Or on the flip side, you don't have 6 of the 7 offers. You go there, you are in the select group, you ball out. Now you got offers on your table that you didn't have before. So bus tours, again, are very important. Do your research on that parents, athletes. See who are some of the athletes that are on your bus. Again, if it's anybody can sign up and they're taking no, those are money grabs. Eliminate those. But if there's a select group on there that hey, these guys have offers and they're going to be put in select places and do select experiences, you're going to be a part of that because you're part of that bus tour. You need to do those. So that's number 6 on the list. And then finally, number 7 is 7-on-7. 7-on-7 does not get you recruited. I will take that to the grave. I don't care. I've seen it. I train 7, 8 elite quarterbacks right now, and they're on different 7-on-7 leagues and teams. No college coach that I've seen at the Division I level. Now, there are some NAIA D2, D3s that might go out to 7-on-7 tournaments or what have you, and they might, I had one kid get offered by an NAIA school 2 weeks ago at a 7-on-7, which is great, awesome. But he's got 3 D1 offers, so he's not even a look at the NAIA school. But anyways, I firmly believe that the Power 4 level, or Power 5, but now Power 4, they're not going to offer you because you had a great tournament. 7-on-7 is used for development now, and if you use the correct way. 7-on-7 creates so many bad habits, especially with quarterbacks. I am not a believer in 7-on-7 unless you just want to compete and have fun. But if you know that's the reason why you're going, then let that be the reason. Not because, I'm going to get filmed to put on Twitter so that I can get offers. That's not happening. They're not offering you because you could throw in a 7-on-7 40-yard space, whatever the case may be. You have 5-star athletes around you. You're just chucking the ball up, 50-50 balls. That is not going to get you recruited. That's just an opportunity for you to develop, to grow, to have fun, and compete. And if you're using it for that, I'm all for it. But you got to understand, quarterback specifically, because everybody thinks it's a quarterback-driven game. Honestly, the most people that are getting the best work in 7-on-7 is DBs and receivers. Quarterbacks, honestly, because you're not really reading coverages if you're patting the ball and stepping up to the line of scrimmage the entire time. That is not real football. That's not happening. You're not waiting for receivers to get open. Sometimes there's not even real concepts. They're just doing this all day just to get open. That is not real concepts. You're not really reading defenses. But if you are doing it, just know the real purpose behind it. You're there to compete, have fun, enjoy kind of the fun side of football that's not so strenuous. You're just traveling and experience some cool things. But just know those offers are not coming through 7-on-7. And I don't care what any trainer or anybody has to say about that. With the transfer portal, those coaches are looking at the portal. They're not looking at 7-on-7 tape. I'm telling you that right now. So if you want to get offers, make sure you're putting stuff on film for the real game. We're talking Friday night lights when it really matters, even some Saturdays for some states. But that's what matters, not 7-on-7 tape. That's just to have fun and compete. And if quarterbacks, my suggestion is do it with a purpose, not for pleasure, which means go through your drops. Don't chop your feet to the line of scrimmage. Actually go through your reads, get the ball out in 2 to 3 seconds, based off instinctual stuff that you've learned through training. Throw the ball now, don't wait. But again, that's so hard to say because the game, 7-on-7 is doing this. So you're not really reading a defense and looking at flat players and looking at safety rotations and coverage and cover 3. Those guys are just bailing because there's no run threat. So it's not even real football. So at the end of the day, just know that's what 7-on-7 is there for. And that's why it's number 7 on the list for, recruitment purposes. That's just there to have fun and compete, get to meet new people, get to travel, get to do all that fun stuff. But just know, don't expect offers or think because you're going to post your 7-on-7 tape on Huddle or on Twitter that you're going to magically get a Division I program and say, hey, man, I loved how you did this and this on 7-on-7, so we're going to offer you scholarship. It ain't going to happen. I'm sorry. So that's what I got to say about that.
And if you're spending money on 7-on-7 and you don't have the number one foundational piece, 7-on-7 is last to spend money on, correct? If you're spending money on not a trainer, not a gym membership, not going to the camps that you're invited to, 7-on-7 should be a pipe dream. Don't even spend money on it if you're not doing this other stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Coach. I have a bonus question for you. I have all the offers in the world, right? I'm one of your quarterbacks. Money over scheme now.
Okay.
What do you tell a kid that says, "Hey, look, this college is going to give me more money because of NIL over this college"? What do you tell your kids? Because it's a serious deal now.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I'm actually partnered with about 2 or 3 agencies that I help my top guys get part of for that. So they know the collectives. They're the ones making the conversations through different brand deals and stuff like that for my athletes. And it hasn't hit Florida yet. And once it does, it's going to get crazy because I got about, again, like I just mentioned before, 6 or 7 guys alone in Florida with Power 4 offers right now that I know, we can really brand and market. So when it comes to the money stuff, right? At the end of the day, my encouragement for these players is to go to the school that best fits you, scheme-wise, relationship-wise, seeing the field earlier, the school campus that you can see yourself on, proximity to home if that matters, weather if that matters. Like, there's different factors on what's going to make you choose, your school at the end of the day. So once you figure that out, maybe if you get to a top 3, and we're talking, this is solely based on playing the game at the program for a coach, not even necessarily for a coach, but at an environment that you love, a school atmosphere that you love, a game day experience that you love. Now the top 3 or the top 2 or even the number 1 school choice that you want, my job for the agencies I worked with is, okay, now what is the best deal possible we can get through that university? Because that's where he wants to go. So that's more of my focal point. I'm not going to say, hey, this school's offering you this much and this school's offering you, so that's why now they're in your top 2. No, because at the end of the day, when they sign that paper, they got to love where they're at. They're not going to perform, and they're not going to ever see that money that they're chasing. Money's the root of all evil. So at the end of the day, let's keep the main thing. Focus on the schools, the 2, 3, top 8, top 10. Focus on those schools that you want to play at, that you built relationships with, that you actually can see yourself stepping foot on campus every single day, going to class, creating a life there, getting your degree there, seeing the field earlier, scheme-wise, does it fit you based off your talents and your skill sets, or does it go away from what you are? Because if I have a pro-style quarterback, you're not going to go to an RPO system. If you're an RPO system, you're not going to go under center in a pro-style. So there's different things that you got to consider. But once you figure out maybe the 2 or 3 schools, I would say top 3, that you love, that you want to be a part of, now my job with the collective and the agencies that I work with and have relationships with, we're going to go all in and say, hey, you are a top 3 program for my top athlete. What is the best deal that you can do? I'm not going to share numbers. We're going to come up with a figure, and if that works out, that's where you commit. If you like this school and they might offer a little less money, but you love it, we're going there. We're not going to chase the top dollar, because at the end of the day, if you perform, you're going to get that top dollar. Regardless if you're at this school, that school, it doesn't matter. Because if they want you, they're going to figure out ways to keep you. Trust me on that. So, in my agencies I work with, I got NFL agencies that I work with that have sent me to college agencies. I have agencies right now that only take 2 to 3 per class at the top of their class, that are set up, guys that worked with DJ Lagway and now Julian Lewis and DJ Ukulele and Jalen Hurts, and a lot of the top names, Young, the quarterback at Alabama, Young, right? Bryce Young. That's the agencies that I'm partnered with. So my quarterbacks are going to be my top 2, 3 quarterbacks are going to be hooked up at that level. So again, the issue is not the money. The issue is, where can you see yourself play? Focus on those schools, and then once you figure that out, then let the money conversation talk, because the money is not the chase. That's going to come. The chase is, where are you going to play football, and where do you love and see yourself being at to start a career and a life? That's what matters. Then the money comes.
Correct, Coach. And I love that part about there. You have a young man that says, hey, I'm from Louisiana. LSU's offering me, but their quarterback room is stacked. Tulane is offering me. I love everything about them. They fit my scheme. It feels like home. LSU's going to offer me more money, but I can be the guy at Tulane. They're wanting me to start starting right away. It's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Don't get caught up in, I'm playing at LSU.
Right, because guess what?
Go ahead.
Because guess what? You go to Tulane, you're the guy, you're making whatever X amount of dollars. Again, you're there to play. Who's to say in 2 years you don't hit the portal and now you're at LSU? Now you just did both, and now you get the money at LSU. You built your name and your brand. Everybody knows who you are. You go to LSU, and now you're at the top of the totem pole. I mean, things happen with the portal. So don't chase the money. Go where you're going to play. The money will come. It's always going to happen regardless. The money will come as long as you do your part and perform. And a lot of these players don't read their contracts. That's why it's very important to have an agent, to have trainers like myself to understand the game, because a lot of these money is based off incentive basis. So you still have to go to a championship. You still have to maybe have an undefeated season, be in the Heisman race, go to a state championship or playoff berth. Like, you won't get all that money unless you do X, Y, Z under their contract. So some people think they're just going to walk in and make $13 million over 4 years, but they forgot to read, you got to do this, 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 this. If you don't do this, this, and this, you might only make $200,000. That's a lot big different than $13 million.
Correct.
And it's still good money. But at the end of the day, these players have got to understand that there's contracts involved, there's incentives involved, and there's standards involved. Which, again, why would you put yourself through that if you're just chasing the money? because you might be miserable at LSU rather than go to Tulane and be right there by the beach and love the coaching staff and the offense, and then now you're balling, you won a conference championship, you're now the number one quarterback in the country, you hit the portal. Now who's to say Alabama ain't coming after you? Not just LSU, but now you got Bama, you got Georgia, you got Oregon and UCLA and USC. Like, you just don't know. But at the end of the day, the money should never be the incentive. Go where your heart is, and then the money will follow. And let's try to figure out how we can, make that the best choice. I had a kid that I trained. This is a good example. I had a kid that I trained, a four-star quarterback. He's down in Davie, Florida. His name is Davie Belfort. His dad's Vitor Belfort. They come from money. He's an MMA superstar Hall of Fame legend, right? I trained him. He had over 30 Division I offers. He committed to Virginia Tech. Do you think he was chasing the dollar? He had Texas A&M on his board, Michigan State, and Virginia Tech. You know why he chose Virginia Tech? Because the relationships, the coaching schemes, the relationship that I have with the coaches, he trusted their program. He thinks that he's going to see the field the quickest there. They love him. He's arguably the highest rated quarterback in the history of their recruiting. And yes, that's over Michael Vick. He had everything, and he chose Virginia Tech. And guess what? He had a great money deal with them, but it wasn't probably nowhere near Texas A&M. I know that for sure. And it definitely wasn't Michigan State. But because he loved the relationship and he saw that's where he best fit, he chose Virginia Tech over 30 Division I offers, including Alabama, including some of the bigger programs that we're talking about, Oregon, Miami. He chose Virginia Tech because that's what best suited him for the relationships, for him playing and all that. So again, and that's one example of many examples of kids that I train and that are probably part of this process right now. Don't chase the money. The money will come to you. Go where you want to play and you see fit what's best suits you as the athlete.
So, all right, Coach. Any last words?
Yep.
I really appreciate you coming on. This was absolutely amazing. We're gonna break it down to sections, and guys, this is free, and this is
Yes.
probably the greatest thing put on YouTube for a high school recruit.
Yeah, I agree. And my last remarks is trainers can get kids offers. Don't let that fool you. I've made phone calls and guys get offers off the rip just because of them being with me. And I don't take pride in that. I'm not trying to brag about it, but it does matter. You have to understand that the game has changed. It's not always just through high school coaches anymore. They're worried about everybody else. Make sure you find your trainer. Make sure you do your research on those trainers. And trainers do your job. Hold your kids at a high standard. I charge whether you're elite, not elite, you're college, you're pro, I don't care. I still charge. I don't use kids for marketing purposes. I don't need to use kids to build my brand. I believe in my training abilities. Trainers, you should feel the same way. You train a kid, you market your kids, but you also need to be rewarded and for the time that you're spending to get these kids recruited. Because at the end of the day, you're also invested. So there are incentives and stuff that there's different promotional deals that I do and stuff like that help out with offers or whatever. But at the end of the day, trainers, value yourself because you need to hold yourself at a high standard just like you hold the kids that you train at a high standard because no one's ever going to win is if you're just trying to go by or just trying to collect a check or you're trying to use kids to market yourself. No, it's about the kids, not about you. So go market them. Spend time as much as you can. Travel with these guys. I go on all these visits with a lot of quarterbacks that I train. I invest in them to show them that I'm all about them, not about me, about them, to make sure that they're put in a situation that's going to help live out their career and dreams, kind of like the way I did. So, and I, again, at the end of the day, I got in this business because I never wanted them to feel the way I felt when I got to USF, and I felt so behind just because I thought I was there for having a strong arm and winning some games in high school. No, there is much more to this game. You compete at an early age because you're ready and you're prepared for it. You see freshmen now starting on the college level because they've been trained and they're ready for it. They're not waiting till their senior year anymore. That's not the way the game is. And if they are, they're probably behind. There's a couple quarterbacks now that their time was there. They waited 3 years. They finally got to start. And guess what? They hit the portal right after because they realized they just weren't that good enough to play at that program. It is because they're not prepared. So make sure you are getting prepared with trainers. Trainers have the ability to make things happen like myself. And trainers, make sure you hold yourself to a high standard. Get paid for your services, whatever that looks like for you, because at the end of the day, if you're doing it right and you're invested, chances are you're going to put everything into it.
All right, Coach. I appreciate you coming on. This was awesome. I am Cody with High Top Sports Recruiting. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, they're in the comments. And, Coach, where can they find you at?
So first of all, I also want to say, always give God glory, number one, no matter what you do. He always has to remain the focal point in all things. Give him thanks for all things that you guys get, regardless if it's offers, awards, incentives, whatever that looks like. It's all because of the glory of God and that he's blessed you with the gifts to do the things that you love the most. So make sure you always keep Christ first. The best decision I ever made was giving my life to Christ. I did that, in college after some situations, and actually in high school too as well. I gave my life to Christ and rededicated in college. But make sure you keep Christ first in all you do. But you can follow me at BAYLINTRUJILLO. That's my first and last name, at Balin Trujillo on Twitter and Instagram. Those are my main accounts. And then my quarterback account is at BTRUQB Training on Instagram. I promote all my guys through that. I show videos. I even have people in my DMs look at some of the drill works that I do and take that when they can't get access to me and they're doing it on their own. I think that's one of the coolest compliments that I get is when these players are reaching out to me and telling me, hey, coach, because of your videos, I'm able to train. I don't have the money, but I'm able to do it on my own. I think that's the coolest part about all this thing in social media is being able to connect with so many people. I want to give a special shout out to QB Movement on Instagram. They do a lot of great stuff. I believe they're in Canada. Those guys are phenomenal at the drill work that they do. If you want to see some good drill work, go to QB Movement on Instagram. They do great stuff. I get some of my stuff from them. I'll tweak it a little bit to fit, my mold and what I want to do and be creative with that. But there's many different sources out there that you can get good drill work and information from that's going to help you get recruited. But I appreciate your time. Thank you for having me on this platform. I appreciate what you're doing for the quarterbacks. You've already interviewed one of my top guys, Darion, which he was the story from last year with the Pittsburgh situation when he got on a scale. So it's funny that we talked about that. Now he's got an offer from Oklahoma. So it's a pretty cool deal there. But yeah, so again, you can DM me anytime. You guys listening, you can DM me for questions or anything like that. I'm more than happy to answer it if I have time and if I see it. But again, I appreciate you having me on your podcast, and I look forward to seeing this thing take off.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, we will see you later.